Hey, this is Joe Gilder from the Recording Revolution. That's my first time saying that. Welcome. If you're new around here, so am I. This is my first standalone video here. I got goosebumps right now. This is my first standalone video here on the Recording Revolution, and I am thrilled to be here. So there's another video with me and Graham that talks about kind of what's going on here, but Graham and I actually go way back. So Graham Cochran is the guy who founded the Recording Revolution. This is my first ever interaction with Graham Cochran. This is from July 2009, and Graham left a comment on my blog, Home Studio Corner, asking a question about, I think it was about converters on the old Digi 003. And then soon thereafter, he started Recording Revolution. We became friends. We did lots of things together, including the Simply Recording podcast and dueling mixes, amongst other things. But the latest thing now is I will be stepping in and taking over the Recording Revolution. So hi, looking forward to getting to know you. I probably know a lot of folks over here, but there's a lot of folks I don't know and you don't know me. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you over the coming weeks and months as we continue down this road of making music. So I was thinking for this first video, there's a little bit of pressure. And so I was thinking if I could only give you one piece of advice, if I could only talk about one thing and then you're gone forever, or Graham changes his mind and kicks me out. I'm kidding. He's not going to do that. What one piece of advice would I want to give? And this is it. Hands down, this is it. And it has to do with what I'm calling a bulletproof recording philosophy. So here it is. I'm not going to beat around the bush and make you wait 20 minutes to hear it. Here it is. The equipment that you use matters, but it also doesn't matter. And it certainly doesn't matter as much as they want you to believe it matters. So where am I coming from here? This is one of the reasons I loved Graham from the beginning was he is bought into this philosophy as well. We're going to get to what does matter and the biggest variable in your success, however you define that, in making music in a home recording studio. But I've got a couple examples here. Tom Morello. Heard of him? Yeah. Sick guitar player. He's played in some of the biggest bands of all time. He bought a guitar at a pawn shop because he liked the way it looked. And I want to say he paid $40 for it. I'm not even sure the guitar was made out of wood. He used that to record a song that won a Grammy. That's example number one. Pawn shop guitar. No name brand. Here's one from our world, from the mixing and production world. Andrew Sheps, world-renowned mix engineer, has his own line of plugins and an amazing beard. He once, the story goes, and you've probably heard Graham tell this story, mixed an entire song on Sony MDR 7506 headphones. That's $100 give or take pair of headphones. I don't like that set of headphones very much. I have others that I prefer, but he was able to get a mix that even the mastering engineer said, nah, I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just going to transfer it because it needs nothing. Mixed on a $100 set of headphones. Okay. Example number 3, Brian May of Queen, right? Epic guitar player. You know the story. He played a homemade guitar. Homemade. Like he and his dad made a guitar and then he played that guitar for his whole career. Now, obviously, they manufactured it at some point, and I'm not saying it was a bad guitar, but he didn't go out and get the latest whatever, Les Paul or whatever at the time. He built one, and it became like the signature tone of Queen. And then, of course, there are people like myself, Graham Cochran, and the thousands of people in the home recording world who are releasing great sounding music every year using simple equipment like this. This is a $130 microphone. I've got nicer microphones. They're in the thing over there in nice cases and whatever. But this one sounds good too. Actually, no matter what microphone I put here, I regularly get the comment, "Ooh, Joe, your voice sounds so good. What mic are you using?" It's not a bad question, but if I get that question, no matter what mic I'm using, what does that tell us? That what they really like is the sound of my voice, not the microphone. Now, I'm not advocating to use bad equipment, right? There's equipment out there that's so cheap that it sounds terrible. You want to use stuff that is good, or at least a certain level of quality. But the good news is, in the 21st century, almost anything you buy at a store for home recording is plenty good quality to get good results. So if the gear isn't really the variable of whether or not your music sounds great or sounds like hot garbage, then what is the variable? Can you guess? Nah, probably so. The big variable is you. Hard truth, but it's true. If you aren't making great sounding music right now, using the equipment that you have right now, then your focus should be fixing you. Now, I don't say that to shame you. You should hear the first recordings I ever did. I tried to find them the other day. They're buried on hard drives that are long since not compatible with all the different dongles that I have today. But it was terrible, 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 terrible. There were good moments, but awful in almost every way you could measure awfulness. But I've progressed. And as I've progressed, yes, I've gotten better equipment, but the big variable every time that makes my music sound better is when I improve the ultimate source, which is me, the songs, the performance. That's why when Graham and I did the Simply Recording podcast together, we did probably 40, 50 episodes over the course of a couple of years. The very first episode was called Get It Right at the Source, because that is the ultimate bulletproof strategy to making great recordings, obviously, great mixes, great masters, great albums, great body of work. None of this stuff, all the gear I have around me is going to mount up to a hill of beans if I'm recording a crappy song and I can't even sing in tune, right? Yes, we have Melodyne, but you get the idea. So if you can't make good music with the equipment you have now, the focus needs to be for the next, give yourself the next year. Make this year be the year that you focus on getting amazing sounds out of what you have now. It's fun to buy equipment. I like buying equipment just as much as the next guy. But what happens when you focus on buying equipment and upgrading your gear versus upgrading your skills? What happens? You become a collector instead of a producer. I would personally like to be a producer. I love that word producer. It has a lot of different meanings, but very literally it means to produce something. If you've had a home studio for a few years and you can't say, here are the songs that I've made, you haven't technically produced anything. And I think ultimately the reason, even though it's fun to mess with equipment and plugins and technology and to tinker, ultimately we get into this to make music, and that should be, at least for me, that's the end result, the end goal, the whole point of all of this. So if you find yourself, maybe you've gotten off track into the world of collecting gear and looking through all the catalogs, I thought I had one around here, and you've kind of neglected the whole music making part. Let's change that. Let's flip that around, right? The name of this channel is The Recording Revolution. Let's revolutionize the way that we approach music. We can make fantastic music. I hope this doesn't come off as negative or shaming. I am 100% just an average Joe, literally, of anyone who's watching this video. And if I can do it, you can do it as well. And then when you get to a certain skill level, sure, upgrade that mic, do all the upgrades. The upgrades are great. I don't want you to stop buying gear necessarily, but I want all of us to be focusing on making music and improving ourselves while we maybe also improve our equipment. And if you find yourself really down the rabbit trail of lots of gear and very little in the way of something to show for it, maybe fast from buying equipment for a season and make something. I had a buddy, he used to call me all the time and say, hey man, I found this great deal on a guitar. Should I get it? And I'd say, well, what music have you made with the one you bought a month ago? None. Okay. So maybe make some music with that before you buy a new one. Okay. He usually didn't follow my advice, but if he had, eventually he did. Eventually he stopped buying so much and started making music, and it was delightful, and he was a lot more joyful than being in that state of constantly looking through catalogs, hunting down his next purchase. He was constantly in his studio working on that next song. And to me, that's a big difference that's worth pursuing. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Lots of stuff planned in the future, but long live the Recording Revolution. Thank you to Graham for allowing me to partner with you and come in here and take care of these fine people here at the Recording Revolution. That's it for me. I'll see you in the next one.